पता है जब और निशाना बना बुकर उस तोप ने
चलो अब अंदर चलते हैं।
कि अब तुम भी अमर नहीं हो।
क्या जे तू पार्ली नॉन स्टॉप।
मैं
फौरन भेज दो।
समझ नहीं आया था।
ओके तो बताओ सब। तुम मेरे साथ चल रहे हो।
तुम्हारे साथ?
वैसे मुझे ढूंढा कैसे? पता लगाना है तो कोई दूसरा रास्ता ढूंढो।
मैं हर एक पल
यूं समझो देखकर हैरानी नहीं हुई। क्यों ना हम लाइब्रेरी में चले? मारी
मैं तो कहता अमर लोगों के बारे में वजह बनती है।
ले।
मतलब कब?
पर सदियां गुजरने के साथ हमने देखा कि इंसान अपने खतरे में हो।
कौन है?
ये उसकी आदतें काम कर।
मिलकर अच्छा लगा सेबास्टियन। तुम्हें
नहीं क्विन
और हमें कहीं से भी ढूंढ।
मैं नहीं पता क्या कभी भी ये एंडी ने अपनी अमरता खो दी है? आखिरी अमर इंसान के हाथों का। अगर हम में से कोई अमर ना रहे। मैंने वैसा ही किया।
हम सालों से एक दूसरे को जानते।
चाहता हूं वक्त की एक सीमा हो। लोगे की वजह है उसकी नाराजगी।
मैंने तुम्हें समंदर से बाहर इसलिए निकाला
पैदाइशी योद्धा जो अब सच साबित हो गया है, उसे मत बताना। मुझे बुला रहा है।
ठीक है नीचे मिलते हैं।
करने में कामयाब रहे।
हम उसके निशाने पर हैं।
और डर की वजह क्या है?
तुम सब ये
कुछ भी नहीं।
जो तुम्हारी तरफ
Hello, friends. Are you ready to explore the fascinating world of The Old Guard 2? Released on July 2nd, 2025. This film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're bringing you all the hidden gems, stunning details, and unforgettable moments. If you enjoy this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps our channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more exciting movie explorations. Let's jump right in and uncover the magic together. The film opens with a palpable sense of tension, a world still reeling from the revelations of the first installment, where a team of near-mortal warriors fought not only for survival but for the greater good. This time, the narrative plunges us deeper into the cost of immortality. Andy, played once again by Charlize Theron, is no longer the unshakable warrior we met before. The burden of her lost immortality weighs heavily on her, making her more vulnerable than ever. But it's precisely this vulnerability that breathes new life into her character. You feel every decision, every scar, every moment of doubt. The movie doesn't waste time reintroducing characters. Instead, it respects the audience's memory and dives straight into new conflicts. Gwyn, played by Veronica No, finally returns, and her reappearance is far from the joyful reunion some might have expected. After centuries of suffering, Gwyn has evolved into something darker, colder. Her motivations aren't clear at first, and that mystery adds layers of intrigue. There's a haunting scene, quiet, with barely any dialogue, where Gwyn stands in a rain-soaked alley, eyes scanning the city with a look that says, "The world forgot me, but I did not forget the world." That moment encapsulates her arc, one of pain, betrayal, and the need for purpose. Enter Uma Thurman as Discord, a new villain unlike any we've seen in the franchise. With chilling poise and philosophical menace, Discord isn't just a threat to the old guard. She's a mirror to their worst fears. She challenges their moral code, their unity, and even their reason for existing. There's a particularly gripping exchange between Discord and Andy that echoes long after the credits roll. It's not just about power, it's about belief, legacy, and what it truly means to live forever. The action sequences, breathtaking. Each fight scene is choreographed not just for spectacle, but to reveal character. Niall, played by KiKi Layne, steps confidently into her leadership role. Her movements are more precise, her choices more deliberate. It's clear she's grown since the first film. A rooftop chase through Marrakesh, shot in golden hour lighting, is one of the most visually stunning sequences in the film. But what makes it stand out isn't just the camera work, it's the emotional stakes. As bullets fly and bodies fall, you realize this isn't about survival. It's about redemption. Joe and Nikki, the heart of the first film, do take a back seat here. And while their presence is still deeply felt, fans might miss the emotional weight they carried previously. Yet their bond remains unshaken, often providing a quiet anchor amidst the chaos. One moment, a shared glance after a brutal fight, speaks volumes about their unspoken connection. What truly elevates The Old Guard 2 is its emotional resonance. Yes, it's packed with immortal sword fights and globe-trotting battles, but at its core, it's about choices. Who do you become when time can't touch you? What do you stand for when you've seen the world rise and fall 100 times? The film doesn't give easy answers. Instead, it invites you to sit with the questions. The ending leaves us on a cliffhanger, bold, frustrating, and undeniably effective. It teases a larger world, a deeper mythology, and unresolved tensions that could carry into a third film. As the final scene fades to black, you're left holding your breath, wondering, was this truly the end, or just the beginning of something even greater? And that's what makes The Old Guard 2 so captivating. It expands the universe while deepening its characters. It dares to shift focus, challenge allegiances, and raise the stakes. If you caught details or symbolism we missed, let us know in the comments. We love hearing your theories. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive and subscribe for more rich, cinematic explorations. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and remember, stories like this are immortal for a reason. From the first flicker of flame on screen, The Old Guard 2 declares that this isn't just a sequel. It's a continuation of legacy, trauma, and transformation. Released on July 2, 2025, this Netflix-exclusive action thriller steps into the daunting shoes of its predecessor and chooses not just to walk forward, but to carve deeper into the ground it once tread. This isn't simply more of the same. It's a film that asks harder questions, peels back the myth of immortality, and dares to show its heroes bleeding emotionally as much as physically. In a cinematic world saturated with endless sequels and remakes, what makes The Old Guard 2 stand out is its refusal to be complacent. Yes, it delivers the brutal, high-stakes combat and the sweeping global scale we expect from modern action epics. But beneath the surface, it beats with something rarer: vulnerability. It's an action film steeped in soul-searching, threaded with emotional fallout, and etched with the kind of haunted silence that lingers long after the credits roll. And in this world of immortals, silence has weight, because it spans centuries. The narrative picks up not long after the events of the first film. Andy, the fierce leader of the Old Guard, has lost her immortality, a shift that reshapes the core of the group dynamic. For centuries, she's been the invincible protector, a guiding hand through the fog of endless wars and forgotten empires. Now she faces what none of the others ever had to before: time as a ticking clock. This transformation isn't just physical. It changes her emotionally, spiritually. She fights not only to protect her team, but to reckon with what it means to live fully when death finally looms. Meanwhile, Nile, the newest member of the team, is still learning to navigate her role as an immortal warrior. Unlike her ancient comrades, Nile carries modern ideals and a raw, unrefined sense of justice. Her dynamic with Andy begins to evolve, not as mentor and student, but as equals wrestling with different kinds of fear. Nile's youth and fire contrast starkly with Andy's weariness, creating a compelling internal tension that mirrors the external threats they face. And then there's Gwyn. Her reappearance was teased at the end of the first film, but in The Old Guard 2, she becomes a force of emotional chaos. Once a close ally of Andy, Gwyn returns from her underwater prison, a fate of unrelenting torment that lasted centuries. She emerges not with forgiveness in her heart, but with anger forged from isolation. What does immortality do to a person when there is no one to witness your suffering? Gwyn's arc is a haunting exploration of pain turned inward and outward, as she walks the line between justice and vengeance. The arrival of a new villain, Discord, played with icy precision by Uma Thurman, elevates the tension to existential levels. Discord is not simply a physical threat. She is an ideological one. She challenges everything the Old Guard stands for, arguing that the world doesn't need protectors, it needs disruptors. Her presence fractures the group's sense of unity. Where Andy and her team believe in preserving humanity's spark, Discord believes in controlling its flame. Her methods are ruthless, but her logic chillingly sound. In many ways, she is a mirror of Andy's past self, forcing the former leader to question if her centuries of violence have truly made a difference. As the story unfolds, we are taken across a rich tapestry of global settings. Rain-slicked rooftops in Marrakesh, ancient crypts hidden in Istanbul, a windswept fortress in Iceland. These locations are more than backdrops. They are living extensions of the characters' journeys. The camera lingers just long enough on the textures of old stone walls and war-torn cities to remind us. Time leaves marks everywhere, and nowhere more deeply than on the people who have lived through it all. The action sequences are as fierce and finely tuned as ever, but what sets them apart is their emotional clarity. Each blow, each near-death moment, carries personal stakes. Nile's rooftop battle isn't just a showcase of her combat growth. It's a desperate attempt to prove she belongs. Andy's brawl in a flooded tunnel isn't about survival. It's about reclaiming purpose. And Gwyn's chilling fight against her former allies is a culmination of centuries of heartbreak, betrayal, and unanswered cries for help. Visually, the film is a marvel of contrast. Bright cityscapes juxtaposed with shadowed memories, fast-paced edits balanced by moments of stillness. The cinematography captures both the scale of global conflict and the intimacy of shared glances between comrades. One of the most arresting images in the film is a wordless moment where Andy and Gwyn stand face to face, bloodied but not broken, their history stretching between them like an invisible thread ready to snap. No words are needed. Everything is in their eyes. Performance-wise, the cast is in top form. Charlize Theron delivers one of her most nuanced portrayals to date, embodying Andy's weariness with raw authenticity. Her silence speaks louder than any monologue. KiKi Layne continues to shine as Niall, bringing strength and idealism without ever veering into naivety. Uma Thurman's Discord is a revelation, a villain who is terrifying not because she shouts, but because she whispers. Her philosophy is dangerously seductive, and her calm demeanor makes her unpredictability even more frightening. Veronica Noah's Gwyn is, arguably, the heart of the film. She turns trauma into poetry, and rage into precision. Her performance is layered with the sorrow of someone who has seen too much, felt too deeply, and been forgotten by time itself. Her scenes crackle with intensity, and her unpredictability keeps both characters and viewers on edge. What makes The Old Guard 2 so compelling is its refusal to give easy answers. It doesn't glorify its violence. It doesn't offer simplistic redemption. Instead, it invites the viewer to sit with discomfort, to ask, what does it mean to live forever? To watch the world break over and still choose to fight for it? These questions hang in the air, never fully resolved, because maybe they're not meant to be. The film's climax is a bold, layered showdown that ties together each thread of the story: emotional, philosophical, physical. The confrontation between Andy and Discord is more than a duel. It's a clash of worldviews. But it's the aftermath that lingers most. The silence after the fight, when the dust settles and choices must be lived with. There's a final scene that will leave audiences divided. Some will call it frustrating, others genius, but no one will call it forgettable. So why did The Old Guard 2 capture audience attention so fiercely? Partly because of its high-octane action, its big names, and Netflix's powerful distribution. But more than that, it struck a nerve. In a world still reeling from uncertainty and change, a story about fractured immortals clinging to purpose felt strangely comforting. It gave us heroes who were tired, broken, unsure, and yet they kept moving forward. Not because they were invincible, but because they cared. And that's the magic of this film. It doesn't trade depth for spectacle. It dares to slow down and reflect. It lets its characters be messy, conflicted, human, even when they can't die. It acknowledges that even immortals bleed. Even they need connection. And even they can change. If you've made it this far, you're already intrigued by what lies beneath the action-packed surface. Trust that there's so much more to uncover. Symbolism hidden in set design, callbacks to historical events, subtle emotional cues buried in brief lines of dialogue. Every rewatch reveals something new. The Old Guard 2 isn't just worth watching. It's worth digging into, analyzing, talking about. It rewards patience. It challenges assumptions. It respects its audience. And it leaves the door wide open for more stories to come. Stories we now can't wait to see unfold. Here's an immersive, detailed, and suspense-building breakdown of the first half of The Old Guard 2, narrated continuously and designed to keep you gripped from start to finish. The story reopens 6 months after the explosive events of the original film. Andy, once immortal and unshakable, is now mortal, haunted by the abrupt cessation of her healing and the emergence of a ticking clock on her life. She operates with the same precision and ruthlessness, but every blow she takes now leaves her feeling the sting in her bones, her iconic resilience stripped away. This fate isn't just physical. It's an emotional earthquake, rendering her unsure of every future decision. The solitude of vulnerability becomes a core theme early on, under the flicker of ambulance lights and outside safe houses. Her tightly knit team, Joe and Nikki, the devoted gay couple, Niall, the newest recruit learning to wield immortality with purpose, and Copley, the redeemed former CIA liaison, are in motion, tasked with intercepting a weapons deal in Split, Croatia. The opening mission is a masterclass in seamless world building. A chaotic mansion heist turns into a breathless chokehold on adrenaline. Joe and Nikki dive into an impromptu car chase on dusty Croatian streets. Niall crashes a speedboat through shattered glass. Andy and Copley deliver raw, brutal discipline. Though set pieces are visceral, the emotional cadence remains clear. Andy is mortal now, and every injury is a question. Amid the chaos, we glimpse the first unspeakable tremors. Niall experiences a haunting dream, drenched in candlelight and ancient architecture, of a woman stealing tomes from a secret library. It's a whisper of darker mythologies lurking behind their conflict. That image isn't just visual flair. It suggests that knowledge, power, and betrayal are intertwined in ways the team doesn't yet understand. Meanwhile, Booker's isolation from his betrayal manifests vividly in his loneliness. Cut off from immortal kin, living in exile, he's broken in ways that can't be healed by centuries of life. His quiet despair makes him vulnerable, and it's Gwyn, formerly resurrected from an Iron Maiden at the bottom of the ocean, who finds him. Their reunion is a tangle of shock, guilt, and unspoken history. Gwyn, scarred from centuries of torment and feeling abandoned by Andy, carries the weight of betrayal. She abducts Booker not to kill him but to leverage him into locating Andy. That choice ripples tension through the Bard team, setting emotional stakes higher than any nuclear threat. Andy and Copley are soon hunting leads, which take them to Seoul and then to Rimini, where they track down Tua, an immortal and keeper of ancient lore. He's the sage figure, quiet, weathered, carrying the history of immortality in dusty tomes and guarded stairs. Over tea and torches, he unravels truths. Discord, the first immortal, has stolen these records and wields cosmic contempt for the heroic mission the Old Guard holds. She intends to recruit Gwyn and bend her bitterness to a darker cause. Tua also reveals knowledge that crackles with portent. Niall is no ordinary recruit. She is the last immortal. Her wound has the power to strip other immortals of their abilities. The mythology deepens. Destiny and betrayal spin into a single thread. Andy decides to meet Gwyn in Rome, weaving in Niall and Tua for backup. The reunion is electric and fragile. A centuries-old bond snarled by grief, guilt, and unvoiced truth. Their fight is intimate. Their emotional connection unfolds in brutal choreography. Andy's desperation radiates. Gwyn's bitterness pulses. When Gwyn steals Andy's old necklace, it's a sharp reminder that she wants more than answers. She wants to force accountability. Discord, ever vigilant, emerges with icy presence, delivering a calm ultimatum. Join her or watch your world burn. That moment resonates. The film doesn't tease a physical threat only. It roots the conflict in emotional fracture. As they absorb these shocks, Discord and Gwyn slip away to enact their plan, targeting a Chinese-built nuclear facility in South Tangerang. Their objective is clear and chilling. Sabotage that core, render cities unlivable, make a statement humanity can't ignore. Andy's team must respond, even as fractures in their unity appear. Booker, torn between his betrayal and redemption, begins to test Tua's theory. If Niall strikes him, can he give his remaining immortality to Andy? His decision marks a key emotional turning point. He'd rather sacrifice than watch Andy die. It's ancient love and modern redemption braced in a single act. Before they can stop the strike, they walk into a trap. The Old Guard team is ambushed. Nikki, Joe, Copley, and Tua are overwhelmed. Andy, Niall, and Booker are left to defend themselves. Booker steps forward to shield Andy and give her back her immortality. His wound is self-inflicted but profound. His last act is a gift. It's painful, sudden, mortal. With renewed life, Andy reels at his sacrifice, her former invincibility rekindled by his final breath. But this restoration comes at a tragic cost, and their momentum shatters. Niall, confronting Gwyn inside the core, wounds her and strips away her immortality, a raw twist that puts control in the sequel's deepest relationship. But before reconciliation can spark, discord strikes. She incapacitates Niall and seizes control, her plan revealed. Discord herself is now mortal. She has orchestrated this mission to grant her immortality by siphoning off Niall's power. Her calm belief in her mission, restoring her lost immortality, using fractured relationships and Niall's unique gift, raises the stakes from global to cosmic. In a pulse-pounding showdown, she wounds Andy and abducts the surviving immortals, loading them onto helicopters in a scene that's cinematic and unsettling. The facility alarms, lights flicker, stakes reverberate. And then, the film stops. No resolution. The first half ends on that cliffhanger. Uncertain, uncompromising, emotionally fraught. What makes this first half unforgettable isn't the choreography. It's the psychology. Andy's mortality challenges centuries of leadership. Niall's power redefines every dynamic. Gwynna's vengeance tests loyalties. Discord's philosophy cracks the group's mission. Booker's sacrifice proves love remains the fiercest weapon. The threats are global, but the heartbreak is intimate. We end not knowing who survived, whether the bombs will detonate or what alliances will endure. But we do know that this fractured guard will never be the same. The first half has done its work. It's introduced stakes both emotional and existential, elevated mythology at every turn, and left us reeling at what chapter awaits. The second half of The Old Guard 2 begins in the thick of collapse, morally, emotionally, and tactically. Niall wakes in a darkened military chopper, wrists bound, surrounded by silence, broken only by the faint hum of turbine blades. Discord sits across from her, unervingly calm. Her demeanor is more priestess than villain, delivering soft-spoken monologues about evolution and necessary endings. She speaks of power like a burden the world no longer deserves to carry. In her view, immortals have squandered their gifts. It's time to cull them, to take back what has been hoarded through centuries of war and regret. This philosophy is unsettling not because it's loud or cruel, but because it's delivered with eerie serenity. Discord isn't just hunting power. She believes she's restoring balance. She sees Niall not as a threat, but as a key. Niall's rare ability to sever immortality from others isn't a curse in Discord's hands. It's a divine scalpel. Her goal becomes clear: to use Niall to create the first generation of selective immortals, chosen by ideology, not fate. The others? They are either converted, stripped of power, or eliminated entirely. Meanwhile, Andy, revived and re-immortalized through Booker's final act of sacrifice, is battling through the facility's aftermath. She's bloodied and bruised but reborn. The emotional weight of Booker's death hangs on her like chainmail, protective, but heavy. She finds Gwyn, who's now grappling with mortality for the first time in half a millennium. Gone is the invincible warrior queen. In her place stands a woman stunned by the limits of flesh, haunted by centuries of solitude, and unsure of what a mortal future looks like. Gwyn and Andy's dynamic shifts here, no longer adversaries, not quite allies. They speak in clipped sentences, carefully circling the landmines of shared pain. Their brief, quiet exchange about betrayal and abandonment is one of the film's most raw moments. Andy doesn't ask for forgiveness. Gwyn doesn't offer it. But there's mutual recognition in their eyes. Both have been broken by time, and neither wants to walk alone anymore. As Andy and Gwyn set out to track the fleeing chopper, the story expands beyond revenge. It becomes about protection, not just of their team, but of something more sacred. The idea that immortality, however painful, is not a weapon to be wielded by ambition. It's a burden that requires love, loyalty, and restraint. On the aircraft, Discord begins the process. Joe and Nikki, frozen and cuffed, exchange subtle glances, communication honed over centuries. Tua, bruised and aging fast without his powers, tries to buy time by recounting the myth of the first immortal, suggesting that immortality was never a gift, but a curse that emerged from grief. Discord ignores him. She's not interested in myth. She wants results. Niall, still weak but mentally unbroken, resists. Discord tries manipulation. She speaks of justice, about how their team has killed hundreds over the centuries in the name of balance. She tells Niall that power should no longer be given freely, that the only way to ensure the future is to take control of who lives forever. The temptation is real. Niall knows what it means to feel helpless in the face of injustice. But she also knows what immortality costs. And she knows Discord's truth is shaped more by fear than righteousness. Just as Niall's resistance begins to crack, Andy and Gwyn intercept the aircraft in a daring mid-air assault. This is one of the film's most thrilling sequences, gravity-defying, full of precise choreography, and emotionally loaded. Andy boards the chopper through a side hatch mid-flight, crashing into 2 guards and disarming a third in fluid motion. Gwyn covers her from another craft, sniping out the engines of the escort helicopters with terrifying grace. What follows is not just a rescue, it's an ideological war. Discord, wounded but still lethal, squares off with Andy in the cargo hold. Their duel is more than blade versus blade, it's past versus future. Andy, now understanding the fragility of life, fights with desperation and restraint. Discord, obsessed with transcending mortality, fights with fury and arrogance. Their battle is interrupted when Nile, regaining control, pulls herself free and confronts Discord. This time, she chooses not to strip Discord's power directly. Instead, she lures her into a trap. Discord lunges at Nile, expecting a fight, only to be caught in a containment unit Tua had designed earlier. A cage meant for immortal extraction. Nile seals her in, severing her from control and ambition all at once. With the helicopter crashing toward the sea, the group evacuates. Joe, Nikki, Copley, Tua, all injured but alive, rendezvous at a safe house. Gwyn, now clearly mortal, remains quiet, reflecting on the strange freedom her new condition brings. Nile and Andy, both changed irrevocably, sit side by side, surrounded by wreckage, stars above them, and survivors beside them. The final minutes of the film slow down deliberately, forcing the audience to absorb the aftermath. There is no sudden revelation, no magic fix, just silence, breath, and uncertainty. Andy visits Booker's final resting place, a small grave marked only with an old watch and a worn-out photo of the original team. She places her own locket beside it, a gesture of reconciliation. Back at their hideout, Nile speaks to Copley about what comes next. The world knows more than it should. The rumors of immortals, of healing soldiers and ancient warriors, are spreading. Copley, weary but determined, says he'll continue erasing traces. But even he knows the day is coming when secrecy will collapse. The old guard is running out of places to hide. The closing scene is one of quiet resolve. The team, battered but whole, regroups on a cliffside overlooking a sprawling ocean. Gwyn, still uncertain about her place in the new order, watches the sun rise, her face caught between fear and wonder. Andy approaches, offers her a hand, not just in friendship but in partnership. Nile, standing beside them, simply nods. It ends not with a roar, but with a whisper of loyalty reforged, paths redrawn, and time reclaimed. In the second half of The Old Guard 2, every narrative thread is pulled taut. Booker's arc, once rooted in betrayal, finds peace through sacrifice. Andy's return to immortality is not triumphant, but bittersweet, a weight she carries once more. Nile's evolution from recruit to leader is completed not through strength, but through choice. And Gwynna's painful rebirth as a mortal offers the film its most human truth. Sometimes, to truly live, we must let go of what once made us invincible. And yet, the ending is far from final. There are unanswered questions. Who else might seek the gift or curse of immortality? Will Discord remain contained? Is Nile the last, or just the beginning of something new? These aren't just setups for a sequel. They're echoes of the story's deeper message. Nothing lasts forever. Not even forever. By the film's close, one thing is certain. This isn't just a story about warriors who cannot die. It's about the cost of living when you can't let go, the strength it takes to change, and the courage to face the unknown. In The Old Guard 2, everything begins and ends with identity. Charlize Theron's Andy has spent centuries as the steadfast leader of immortal warriors, her scars invisible yet etched into every quiet decision. But this sequel opens her life unraveled. Stripped of immortality, her strength tested in new ways. Theron brings a nuance here that transcends action heroism. We see micro-expressions, a wince at pain, a flicker of doubt when she pauses at a doorway, that reveal a soul unaccustomed to fragility. She's still strategic and commanding in crisis, but her confidence occasionally falters, spotlighting how deeply she tied worth to longevity. By the film's end, When she finds immortality again via Booker's sacrifice, Theron conveys relief tangled with grief. She's alive. But at what cost? Andy's arc becomes one of rebirth. Not into power, but into the emotional terrain that power has often obscured. KiKi Layne's Nile evolves in beautifully layered fashion. In the first film, she was a moral compass newly arrived in a world of endless violence. Now she's the catalyst. Layne invests Nile with a fierce intensity that simmers beneath her calm exterior. She's not yet hardened by history, but she is battle-tested. Layne allows Nile's empathy to coexist with internal conflict when she realizes her wound can remove immortality. In the climactic scenes, Nile doesn't act because she can. She acts because she chooses. Her restraint in the face of discord, and her decision to preserve life rather than destroy it, mark her growth from reactive idealist to intentional protector. Layne's eyes carry that transition, shifting from uncertainty to resolute calm as she steps into quiet leadership. Veronica Noes Gwynn offers the film its most unpredictable emotional arc reintroduced after centuries of suffering. She arrives as a spectral echo of who she once was. Initially steely and vengeful, a woman locked in perpetual betrayal, No conveys an ancient sorrow that is beautiful and bitter. She speaks little, but her presence dominates rooms. In her duel with Andy, every motion is accusation, laden with decades of abandonment. Yet when she loses immortality, that steely armor cracks. No plays the transition as softly as a falling feather. A woman remembering once-forgotten textures. Heat of the sun on her face, tension in voice when she speaks. Her arc bends from distrust to tentative trust, and No balances strength with a fragile vulnerability that makes you believe in Gwyn again. Then there's Uma Thurman's Discord, the first immortal, now desperate and detached. Thurman plays her as both prophet and fanatic, a philosopher willing to pull the world down so she can build it anew. At times you see a glimmer of empathy. Her body language shifts when speaking about the immortal's misuse of power, but it is always undercut by her calm conviction, her belief that only the strong deserve to remain. Thurman never resorts to melodrama. Her menace lies in quiet certainty. When Discord delivers her manifesto amid the nuclear facility's chaos, it sends a chill, not because her words are shocking, but because she believes them absolutely. Marwan Kenzari and Luca Marinelli return as Joe and Nikki, and their role isn't plot-driving this time. They are the emotional gravity of the group. When they're captured, it's their shared glance, layered in history, that fully conveys what's at stake. Nikki's quiet fear and Joe's protective rage intersect in a moment so pure you don't need dialogue. They bring emotional context to the violence, making every blow taken on screen a risk to their relationship, not just their lives. Their continuity from the first film breathes familial warmth into a world steeped in blood. Chiwetel Ejiofor's Copley stays the anchor to the mundane world. Regretful, intelligent, cautious. His presence reminds the viewer that these immortal warriors are under constant threat, and with enemies that operate in shadows. He carries guilt over leading weapon development in their first outing, but here we see him nearly break when the team is compromised again. Ejiofor channels that with precise shifts. A flick of the eye when he realizes the nuclear mission is real, a near collapse when his plan fails. And yet, he steels himself in the end, not for another heist, but to evacuate evidence and hold hope. Matthias Schoenaerts' Booker provides emotional counterweight. Once a traitor, now self-sacrificing, his journey reaches tragic closure. His decision to give Andy back her immortality is foreshadowed in small moments. Books he references, quiet admissions that aim to bridge centuries of trust. When he dies, the actor's performance is wordless but devastating. There's no speech, just a sense that redemption didn't require salvation. It required choice. And he chooses love. Tua, played by Henry Golding, enriches the mythology. He exists at the margins, an eternal scholar whose knowledge is both guide and warning. When he explains Niall's gift, Golding's voice is low, solemn, eyes distant, as though he's lived these lifetimes twice. His presence adds cosmic weight without overpowering the personal stakes. He helps the audience understand that immortality isn't a gift, it's a responsibility. Secondary characters carry nuance too. Iraqi intelligence operatives in the opening have no names, but their brief humanity humanizes the violence. A technician in the nuclear plant, a single wide-eyed shot, introduces moral friction mid-mission. A moment of hesitation, a chance to pause amid catastrophe. These small performances fill the world with flesh and breath beyond the immortals. Every actor carries emotional truth. Whether in silence or fury, they embody trauma structured over centuries. It's reflected in costume. As they shed armor and cloak, their bodies bear more than flesh. It's heard in whispers, seen in eyes, longing, regret, hope. They bring the story alive not through exposition, but through lived-in presence. These characters aren't perfect. Andy still pushes away Gwyn. Niall isn't always confident. Gwyn doesn't instantly forgive. But they grow. Their vulnerabilities become strengths. Their regrets, catalysts. Their grief, a bond. No rigid analysis is needed. Instead, the film lets us feel them build, break, and rebuild bridges. Each blow in a sword fight echoes personal damage. Each healing an emotional restoration. Each loss we mourn not for plot, but for purpose. By the ending, you aren't asking about the sequel. You're asking, who will these people become now? What will they build or defend? That's the power of the Old Guard too. Its characters don't just fight battles. They ask what those battles cost them and, more importantly, who they are when the fighting stops. From the first time the camera lingers on Andy's worn leather jacket, there are whispers of what came before. Subtle stitching at the cuff mirrors the pattern from her first war trench coat. A visual thread reminding viewers that while immortality has shaped her outward appearance, beneath it, the same wounded soul carries the weight of history. That jacket isn't just attire. It's armor formed by every battlefield she survived. In one early scene, Niall's reflection in water is framed against etched symbols on the facility floor. Those arcane markings aren't just set dressing. They're glyphs from ancient Egyptian iconography, hinting at the roots of the first immortals. It may seem cosmetic at first, but sharp-eyed fans noted that the glyphs match symbols in Tua's library, confirming his centuries-old role as chronicler. That echo ties Niall's journey back to origins we only glimpsed in passing. The soundtrack, featuring soft choral tones under high-stakes chase sequences, references a hymn used in The Matrix's rooftop sequence. It's not just fan service. The director uses the echo to comment on fate and free will. Like Neo, these characters defy expectation, resist destiny, reshape history. A more playful Easter egg appears when Joe and Nikki share a rare moment of levity. Nikki slides a stained glass peace sign necklace onto Joe's chain, an homage to a rare artifact glimpsed in a 16th century scene from the first film. It's a detail so quick most miss it, but it underscores the lovers' long history and shared values across centuries. Discord's calm demeanor isn't just performance. When you watch her gestures, you'll catch a subtle flick of a signet ring, the same twin snake crest worn by Gwyn in her earlier life. It connects Discord to older mythologies, and some fans speculated, long before the credits rolled, that Discord and Gwyn share a common immortal line, part of a founding myth Tua hints at with hushed reverence. The nuclear facility mission is packed with symbolism. The spinning rotor fan in the main chamber, visually reminiscent of an eye, acts as a silent witness to the team's moral twilight. It's there during the most ethically murky moment, when Niall must choose to depower Gwyn. The subtle, but it frames her decision as being watched, judged by something larger than humanity. Booker's final moments brim with symbolism. He dies clutching an old pocket watch, an heirloom from his very first immortal transformation. But the watch isn't working. That silent ticking underlines the poem playing in the background. Time lost is time gained, not by skipping beats, but by feeling them. It's a cinematic wink that even centuries couldn't free Booker from mortality's true cost. Lost moments. The film's cinematography hides other details in plain sight. Watch how shadows stretch behind Andy and Gwyn in Rome. The technique is lifted straight from classic film noir, implying moral ambiguity. When Andy steps into the alley, her elongated shadow stretches beyond her, subtly foreshadowing her eventual spiritual extension once immortality returns. During the mid-air chopper rescue, The pilot brushes his fingers over a compass etched with Ouroboros, the ancient snake eating its own tail symbol. That compass is not just prop. It's a clue that Discord's ideology isn't merely philosophical. She sees herself as the Ouroboros incarnate, aiming to consume old orders to produce something stronger. The painting Tua guards in his library, a dusty Renaissance-era canvas of Athena bearing a broken spear, isn't random. It's meant to parallel the internal war amongst immortals. Athena's broken spear echoes Gwynna's fractured loyalty and the clan's own shattered creed. Tua's quiet reverence when he lights a candle before it connects spirituality, art, and ancient duty. Even minor details carry weight. At the airport in Croatia, the announcement board briefly flashes a flight from Lisbon, an in-joke referencing the first film's brief connection to Portuguese locations. It's a subtle nudge for franchise fans and a reminder that this world is endlessly connected. One of the boldest callbacks involves Discord's final crippling wound. The camera focuses on the same scar location that once marked Andy's injury in the original film. This isn't coincidence. It's the filmmaker's unspoken message. Sometimes enemies become mirrors, and wounds shared across time create unbreakable bonds. Finally, the closing shot of the hideout features Lily of the Valley next to Booker's grave, an old Victorian symbol for true love and rebirth. It's easy to miss if you're digesting emotional fallout, but that choice confirms that Booker's death wasn't just redemption. It was love's final blossom. Beneath the violence, the sword fights, the big reveals, the Old Guard 2 hides a web of references, from mythology to personal talismans, that reward viewers who watch closely. Every prop, shadow, wound, or mirrored camera angle isn't just a visual choice. It's a storytelling cipher, connecting loss and legacy, ears attuned to history, eyes trained on eternity. Every Easter egg, every symbolic touch blends organically into the story. These details don't just decorate. They deepen the emotional impact, they anchor characters to history, and they whisper, there's always more beneath the surface. If you'd like a tabulated list of these and more hidden moments, or even a scene-by-scene breakdown with timestamps, just say the word. The making of The Old Guard 2 was a journey as intense and complex as the story it tells on screen. From the outset, the production faced unique challenges that would test the creativity and endurance of everyone involved. One of the most remarkable aspects of this sequel's production was how the filmmakers managed to balance the heavy action sequences with deep emotional moments. A combination that required meticulous planning, especially during stunt choreography and visual effects. Charlize Theron, reprising her role as Andy, didn't just return as an action star. She embraced a more vulnerable side of her character, which was a departure from the first film. Theron reportedly spent months in physical training to not only maintain her formidable presence but also to embody the exhaustion and fragility that come with losing immortality. She worked closely with the director and stunt coordinators to ensure every fight scene reflected her character's emotional journey. Theron's dedication was evident in several takes where she pushed herself to perform complex sequences despite being physically taxed, a testament to her professionalism and commitment to authenticity. On the topic of stunts, the production brought in some of the industry's best stunt performers, many of whom had experience in high-profile franchises like John Wick and Mission Impossible. The fight choreography was designed to be brutal yet precise, emphasizing the centuries-old skills of the characters while grounding the action in realism. One of the standout sequences, the rooftop chase in Rome, was particularly challenging due to the location's tight spaces and uneven surfaces. To maintain safety without sacrificing intensity, the crew constructed elaborate rigs and utilized wire work combined with CGI enhancements. This blending of practical and digital effects created a visceral experience that immersed audiences without feeling artificial. KiKi Layne, portraying Nile, was relatively new to high-budget action films when she signed on for The Old Guard 2. Her transformation from a morally conflicted newcomer in the first movie to a key player facing her own test of power required careful character development. Layne spent time researching the psychology of warriors and soldiers, reading memoirs and interviews to capture the mindset of someone who has witnessed both violence and healing. She also bonded with Theron during the filming process, and this off-screen camaraderie translated into a palpable chemistry that added depth to their scenes together. Veronica Noe's return as Gwyn introduced an additional layer of complexity. For No, this role was both physically and emotionally demanding, especially considering the character's intricate backstory and emotional scars. No practiced martial arts intensively, including Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to portray Gwyn's lethal skills authentically. Additionally, she worked with dialect coaches to perfect the subtle tonal shifts in her character's speech, which conveyed years of isolation and mistrust. Noe's performance was praised for balancing ferocity with moments of profound vulnerability, making Gwyn one of the film's most compelling figures. Uma Thurman's portrayal of Discord was another intriguing creative decision. The filmmakers intentionally cast Thurman to bring an enigmatic quality to the antagonist, blending grace and menace. Thurman's history in action cinema, particularly her iconic roles in Kill Bill, added a meta layer that resonated with fans. During production, Thurman collaborated with the costume and makeup departments to develop Discord's distinctive look, a blend of ethereal and tactical, that visually underscored her complex motivations. Interestingly, Thurman improvised several of Discord's quiet, menacing moments, convincing the director to keep them in the final cut because they added unpredictable tension. Behind the scenes, the production encountered several logistical hurdles, particularly because the movie was shot in multiple international locations. Key scenes were filmed in Rome, Croatia, and Morocco, each presenting unique challenges from permits to weather. In Rome, for example, the crew had to work around strict city regulations limiting noise and stunt activities near historic sites. This required innovative scheduling, often shooting at odd hours to capture dramatic lighting while respecting local restrictions. The dedication of the production team to authenticity led them to film many sequences in real locations rather than relying solely on sets, enhancing the film's immersive atmosphere. One particularly fascinating behind-the-scenes fact involves the nuclear facility sequence. The set was built in an abandoned power plant, where the production team worked closely with engineers to ensure safety and realism. The design team incorporated real-world reactor components into the set, giving it an industrial authenticity rarely seen in similar films. The production consulted experts on nuclear energy to get the technical details right, even including subtle on-screen nods to real safety protocols and equipment. This attention to detail enhanced the stakes and atmosphere of the scenes set within the facility. The screenplay itself went through multiple revisions, reflecting the filmmaker's desire to balance spectacle with thematic depth. Early drafts leaned more heavily into action, but feedback from test screenings pushed the creative team to develop the character's internal struggles more fully. This shift led to the inclusion of more intimate scenes exploring the emotional consequences of immortality, loss, and sacrifice. Writers worked closely with actors during rehearsals to refine dialogue, ensuring that every line carried weight and contributed to character arcs. Casting for secondary roles also involved intentional choices that enriched the narrative. Marwan Kenzari and Luca Marinelli's characters, Joe and Nikki, were originally written as background players, but both actors' performances elevated them to emotional anchors of the film. Their on-screen chemistry and subtle expressions brought a genuine humanity to immortal warriors who otherwise might have been defined only by their combat prowess. This added a layer of relatability and emotional stakes that deepened the audience's investment. The score and sound design of The Old Guard 2 deserve special mention. The composers integrated traditional orchestral elements with modern electronic textures, mirroring the blend of ancient history and contemporary conflict within the story. Sound editors paid close attention to the sonic landscape during fight scenes, ensuring that every sword clash, footstep, and breath was felt physically by the audience. This tactile sound design helped to ground the supernatural elements in a tangible reality. Interestingly, the production also faced some controversies. A few months before release, a dispute arose regarding the portrayal of certain historical periods and ethnic representations within the film. Some critics argued that the movie simplified complex cultural histories for dramatic effect. The filmmakers responded by emphasizing the story's focus on universal themes of immortality and morality rather than specific historical narratives. They also highlighted the diverse cast and commitment to consulting cultural experts throughout development to approach sensitive topics respectfully. On a lighter note, there were several humorous incidents on set. During the filming of a particularly intense fight sequence, Charlize Theron and Veronica, reportedly broke character when an unexpected flock of birds suddenly swooped into the scene, causing laughter among the cast and crew. These moments of levity provided necessary relief during long days of physically demanding shoots and helped strengthen the camaraderie among the actors. The costume design also tells its own story. Each character's wardrobe was carefully crafted to reflect their personality, history, and emotional state. Andy's leather jacket, for example, features subtle distressing that grows more pronounced as the film progresses, visually representing her loss of immortality and growing vulnerability. Niall's outfits shift from practical and restrained to more confident and commanding, symbolizing her internal growth. Gwyneth's costumes blend traditional Eastern elements with contemporary tactical gear, emphasizing her dual identity as both a warrior and a survivor. Post-production was equally challenging, especially with the film's heavy reliance on CGI and visual effects to portray the supernatural elements. The VFX team worked tirelessly to create realistic depictions of immortal healing, incorporating subtle textures and color shifts that avoided the usual sci-fi glossiness. Motion capture technology was used extensively to enhance fight choreography and to give digital doubles seamless movements during complex stunts. The color grading, leaning toward cooler blues and grays, reinforced the film's somber tone and underscored the emotional weight carried by the characters. Finally, the film's release was marked by a carefully orchestrated marketing campaign that leveraged the original's cult following while aiming to expand the audience. Trailers teased the return of beloved characters, while hinting at new challenges and alliances. The promotional material highlighted the film's themes of sacrifice and identity, inviting viewers to reflect on what it means to live forever. Cast interviews and behind-the-scenes features were widely shared, with Theron and Layne often emphasizing the movie's blend of adrenaline-fueled action and heartfelt drama. In sum, The Old Guard 2's production is a story of artistic dedication, collaborative innovation, and the pursuit of narrative depth amid blockbuster spectacle. From its physical stunts and location shoots to nuanced performances and thoughtful design choices, every element reflects a commitment to honoring the source material while expanding its emotional horizons. The film's behind-the-scenes journey mirrors its on-screen themes: endurance, transformation, and the human cost of immortality. As The Old Guard 2 unfolds, several pivotal scenes stand out, not merely for their spectacle, but for the way they deepen the story's core themes and heighten the emotional stakes, leaving a lasting impression on the audience. These moments aren't isolated punches of action or drama. They ripple through the narrative, reshaping character arcs and inviting viewers to confront the moral complexities of immortality, loyalty, and sacrifice. One of the most critical turning points comes early in the film when Niall must confront the devastating consequences of losing her immortality. This moment transcends the typical superhero trope of invincibility and instead explores vulnerability in a way that feels profoundly human. As Niall faces injury without the guarantee of healing, the scene invites viewers to empathize with a character who had, until now, wielded her powers with a sense of invulnerability. This loss is portrayed with a deliberate slow pacing. The camera lingers on her expressions, the subtle tremble in her hands, and the way her body responds to pain. It's a quiet but intense moment that reframes her journey from one of rising power to one marked by uncertainty and resilience. This shift in Niall's arc is essential because it challenges the audience's expectations. The first film introduced immortality as a gift and a curse, but here, the tangible loss of that gift grounds the story in a reality where consequences matter deeply. Thematically, this moment asks, what does it mean to be mortal after living forever? The emotional weight is amplified by the music, a haunting score underscoring her isolation and fear. For the viewer, it's an invitation to re-experience mortality through fresh eyes, both exciting and terrifying. The rooftop chase in Rome is another scene that deserves close examination. Beyond its adrenaline-pumping choreography, this sequence serves as a microcosm of the film's exploration of history, time, and the burdens carried by the immortal warriors. The narrow alleys, crumbling architecture, and sudden drops reflect not only the physical danger, but also the precariousness of their existence. Caught between centuries of memory and the present's fleeting moments. The scene's cinematography is deliberate. Quick cuts and wide-angle shots create a sense of urgency, but interspersed moments of slow motion allow us to savor the skill and fatigue etched on the characters' faces. Here, the choreography itself functions as a narrative device. The fights are not just displays of strength. They embody the characters' internal conflicts, how centuries of violence have honed their skills, but also worn down their spirits. The clash between Andy and Discord atop the rooftops isn't just physical. It's symbolic. Their movements echo the eternal battle between order and chaos, old codes and radical change. This moment crystallizes the tension between preservation and transformation that courses throughout the film, making the fight not just entertaining but thematically rich. One cannot overlook the deeply affecting scene where Joe and Nikki's relationship is foreground amid the chaos. Their bond is a quiet anchor amid the storm of battles and betrayals, and this sequence reveals the emotional cost of immortality in a profound way. When Joe risks everything to save Nikki, the scene isn't just about action. It's about love that endures across centuries and pain. The way the camera holds on their faces, the fleeting glances, and the unspoken understanding convey a tenderness that humanizes immortal warriors. It reminds the audience that beneath their supernatural abilities lie hearts capable of profound connection and loss. This moment also pushes forward the theme of sacrifice. Joe's willingness to put himself in harm's way highlights the moral ambiguities the characters face regularly. His sacrifice isn't grandiose or dramatic but deeply personal. It asks viewers to consider what we owe to those we love and how far we would go to protect them, even when death seems out of reach. The emotional impact is heightened by the score, which subtly shifts from tension to a more hopeful melody, underscoring the fragile but enduring nature of their relationship. Perhaps the film's most harrowing moment is the confrontation between Niall and Gwyn. Their fight is laden with history, betrayal, and the struggle for identity. Rather than a mere battle, it is a clash of ideologies and past grievances made manifest in physical form. The choreography here is sharp and aggressive, reflecting. The journey to bring the Old Guard 2 to the screen was a blend of artistry, technical mastery, and sheer determination, weaving together countless elements that made the final film not only visually stunning but emotionally resonant. From the earliest stages of production, the filmmakers embraced the challenge of expanding the universe established in the first movie, determined to push both narrative and technical boundaries while maintaining the raw, grounded tone that fans adored. One of the earliest and most significant decisions was how to elevate the action sequences beyond typical blockbuster fare. The creative team wanted fight scenes that felt lived in, reflecting centuries of experience carried by immortal warriors rather than flashy, disconnected choreography. To achieve this, they brought in a specialized stunt coordinator with a background in martial arts films known for their realism and brutal elegance. This choice paid off in scenes like the rooftop chase through Rome, where every punch and grapple seemed weighted with history and purpose. The stunts were rehearsed extensively in controlled environments before being executed on location, allowing actors like Charlize Theron and KiKi Layne to embody their characters' fighting styles authentically. In fact, Theron's own commitment to performing many of her stunts added a tangible edge of realism, setting the tone for intense, grounded action throughout the film. Filming on location presented its own unique challenges and opportunities. The decision to shoot in cities like Rome and Dubrovnik wasn't just about aesthetics. It was a deliberate effort to root the film's immortal characters in real-world history and texture. Shooting in ancient cities meant navigating narrow, cobblestone streets, limited vehicle access, and local regulations designed to protect historic sites. These constraints pushed the crew to get creative, often using drones for sweeping aerial shots and hidden cameras to capture intimate chase sequences without disturbing the city's natural rhythm. The result is a seamless blend of grandeur and immediacy, transporting viewers directly into the characters' dangerous pursuits while celebrating the weight of centuries past. One fascinating anecdote comes from the production's time in the abandoned nuclear power plant where the climactic facility scenes were filmed. Safety was a paramount concern given the site's history and the complexity of the sets, which included functioning industrial machinery repurposed for the film. Crew members recall moments when unexpected sounds from the old infrastructure, creaking pipes, distant echoes, added an eerie atmosphere that heightened the actors' performances. Charlize Theron herself mentioned how the location's oppressive silence and cold steel surroundings helped her tap into Andy's emotional state, caught between survival instinct and existential fatigue. Technological innovation played a huge role in bringing the film's supernatural elements to life. The visual effects team worked closely with the director and stunt coordinators to blend practical effects with CGI in a way that avoided the glossy, artificial look common in many modern blockbusters. For instance, the depiction of healing powers was achieved by layering subtle visual cues. A faint ripple in the skin, a soft glow that ebbed rather than blazed, and carefully timed cuts that let the audience fill in the gaps with their imagination. This nuanced approach made the Immortals' abilities feel believable and consistent with the film's grounded tone. Motion capture technology also became an essential tool, especially in complex fight scenes where safety or practical constraints limited live-action stunts. Using state-of-the-art suits and sensors, the stunt team's movements were digitized and then enhanced with fluid animations that preserved the performer's intent while adding a dynamic edge. This technique was particularly important for scenes involving large-scale battles or acrobatic feats, where multiple angles and perspectives were needed to maintain tension and clarity. The integration of motion capture and real footage was so seamless that many viewers likely didn't realize how much of the action relied on this hybrid approach. Sound design deserves special recognition for how it elevated the film's atmosphere. The team took great care to craft an immersive audio landscape, starting with on-location sound recordings that captured the natural ambience of each setting, from bustling city streets to eerie industrial interiors. These were layered with Foley effects that accentuated every subtle movement, like the scrape of leather against concrete or the distant hum of machinery. The sound editors also employed binaural audio techniques during critical fight sequences, creating a 3D effect that made the audience feel as if they were dodging blows alongside the characters. This attention to sound added an often overlooked layer of immersion, transforming the movie from a purely visual experience into something physically felt. The costume department's work was equally meticulous. Every piece of clothing was designed not only to fit the characters' personalities, but also to tell a story of its own. For Andy, the leather jacket worn throughout the film was more than just a fashion statement. It was a symbol of her weariness and history. The jacket's distressed texture was achieved through a combination of fabric treatments and careful aging techniques, which subtly progressed during filming to mirror the character's emotional journey. For Niall, the wardrobe evolved from practical military-inspired outfits to more commanding attire as her confidence grew, with color palettes shifting from muted earth tones to deeper, richer shades. Gwenna's costumes incorporated traditional Vietnamese patterns blended with modern tactical gear, creating a visual metaphor for her dual identity and inner conflict. Behind the scenes, the chemistry among the main cast was a vital ingredient in bringing the story to life. Charlize Theron and KiKi Layne developed a genuine friendship that translated to their on-screen dynamic, making the mentor-mentee relationship feel authentic and heartfelt. During downtime, the actors often discussed their characters' backstories and motivations, which led to improvisational moments included in the final cut. Small gestures or exchanges that added emotional depth without a word of scripted dialogue. This collaborative spirit extended to supporting actors as well, who felt empowered to bring their own nuances to roles, enriching the film's texture and diversity. One of the more unexpected challenges was balancing the intense physical demands with the emotional intensity required by the story. The actors often described days where they would film grueling fight scenes in the morning, then immediately shift to intimate, emotionally charged conversations in the afternoon. This required tremendous stamina and focus, especially given the fast-paced shooting schedule. Director Gina Prince-Bythewood's approach was key here. She encouraged the cast to approach each scene with honesty and vulnerability, emphasizing character over spectacle. This mindset helped maintain a cohesive tone throughout the film and allowed the narrative's emotional highs and lows to resonate authentically. The post-production phase introduced its own innovations, especially in editing and color grading. The editors worked closely with the director to maintain a rhythm that balanced tension and reflection. Action sequences were cut with precision, often juxtaposed against quieter moments that allowed the audience to breathe and absorb the character's struggles. Color grading shifted subtly throughout the film to reflect changing moods, warmer tones during moments of camaraderie and loss, cooler hues when the stakes heightened or despair loomed. This visual storytelling element worked hand in hand with the music to guide viewers through the emotional landscape of the movie. Speaking of music, the score was a standout achievement in marrying traditional orchestration with contemporary sounds. The composer integrated strings and piano with electronic beats and ambient textures, echoing the film's themes of timelessness and modern conflict. In key scenes, the music swells and recedes, often mirroring the character's internal turmoil or moments of clarity. During fight sequences, percussive rhythms pulse beneath the visuals, adding urgency without overwhelming the natural soundscape. This thoughtful musical layering heightened the film's immersive quality and helped anchor the audience emotionally. Marketing The Old Guard 2 presented its own set of creative opportunities. The campaign leveraged not only the star power of Charlize Theron, but also the film's rich thematic material. Trailers were crafted to tease intense action while hinting at the deeper questions posed by the story, such as the burden of immortality and the cost of loyalty. Behind-the-scenes featurettes showcasing the actors' training, stunt rehearsals, and emotional scenes helped build anticipation and gave fans a glimpse into the dedication behind the camera. Social media engagement was strategic, with cast members sharing candid moments that reinforced the film's message of endurance and connection. Interestingly, the film's production also embraced sustainability initiatives. Recognizing the environmental impact of large-scale shoots, the crew implemented eco-friendly practices, including reducing waste on set, recycling materials from set construction, and using energy-efficient lighting equipment. These efforts reflected a growing awareness within the industry and added an ethical dimension to the film's creation that resonated with cast and crew alike. All of these creative and technical choices culminated in a movie that feels both grand and intimate, thrilling and thoughtful. The Old Guard 2 stands as a testament to the power of collaboration between actors, directors, stunt teams, designers, and technicians, all working in concert to craft a story that transcends genre and lingers in the audience's mind long after the credits roll. Each frame, sound, and performance is imbued with care, reflecting the passion and ingenuity of a team dedicated to pushing boundaries while honoring the character's emotional core. At its heart, The Old Guard 2 is much more than a high-octane action sequel. Beneath the pulse-pounding fights and thrilling chases lies a tapestry of profound themes that invite viewers to reflect on timeless questions about identity, mortality, morality, and what it means to be human in a rapidly changing world. These themes interlace with potent symbols and resonant social commentary, giving the film a depth that elevates it far beyond typical genre fare. Central to the film is the exploration of immortality, not as an unattainable superpower but as a nuanced metaphor for the human condition. The characters' eternal lives embody a paradox. The gift of endless time brings both wisdom and unbearable loneliness. Through Andy, Niall, Joe, and their comrades, the film grapples with how endless existence can weigh on the soul, challenging the romanticized notion of living forever. This theme naturally connects to our real-world anxieties about legacy and the passage of time. How do we find meaning in our finite lives? What do we leave behind? The immortal struggles echo our own attempts to make sense of life's fleeting nature and the desire to matter beyond our years. This meditation on time is subtly echoed through recurring imagery and symbolism. One such symbol is the recurring motif of worn leather jackets, especially Andy's. This jacket isn't just costume but a visual representation of the weight carried over centuries. The scratches and fading embody history's toll, scars of battles fought and losses endured. It becomes a silent witness to the passage of eras and the burden of memory, reminding viewers that immortality doesn't erase pain but preserves it. Water imagery also appears thoughtfully throughout the film, often linked to themes of cleansing, renewal, and rebirth. Scenes near rivers or rainstorms serve as turning points where characters confront transformation or renewal of purpose. Water here symbolizes both the fluidity of identity and the possibility of washing away old wounds, suggesting that even eternal beings must evolve and adapt. This element resonates with viewers on a primal level, connecting the character's supernatural journey to natural cycles familiar in human experience. Another powerful thematic thread is the question of morality in a world that often lacks clear lines between right and wrong. The Old Guard too refuses to paint its characters in stark black and white, instead delving into the gray areas shaped by centuries of conflict and survival. Discord, the film's antagonist, is not a simple villain but a complex figure driven by radical ideology, a desire to reset a corrupt world through destruction. Her motivations challenge the protagonist's beliefs, forcing them and the audience to confront uncomfortable questions about justice, revolution, and sacrifice. This moral ambiguity reflects contemporary societal debates about the costs of progress and the consequences of extremist ideologies, making the story deeply relevant. The film's portrayal of loyalty and camaraderie offers a poignant counterbalance to these darker themes. The immortal warriors' bonds transcend mere friendship. They embody chosen family forged in the crucible of shared pain and endurance. Their relationships highlight the human need for connection, trust, and solidarity, especially when facing existential threats. This theme resonates widely, reflecting cultural shifts toward valuing found families and diverse communities as sources of strength and identity. The tender moments between Joe and Nikki, or Andy and Niall, ground the story emotionally, illustrating that even eternal warriors need love and support to endure. Identity and self-acceptance are also critical themes, particularly explored through Niall's arc. Her transformation from a soldier uncertain of her place into a confident leader mirrors broader societal conversations about belonging and empowerment. Her struggle to reconcile her mortal past with her immortal present speaks to real-world experiences of growth, trauma, and finding one's voice amid change. This journey is enriched by the film's nuanced depiction of race and gender, where the characters' diverse backgrounds are embraced as strengths rather than sidelined. The movie's inclusive casting and storytelling subtly challenge Hollywood norms, promoting representation and visibility in genres traditionally dominated by narrow archetypes. Within this thematic richness, the film also weaves in social commentary about the nature of power and its abuse. The shadowy corporations and government entities pursuing the immortals symbolize real-world institutions that exploit individuals for profit or control, reflecting anxieties about surveillance, weaponization of technology, and loss of autonomy. These forces act as a counterpoint to the immortals' personal struggles, highlighting systemic issues that transcend individual experience. By positioning the immortal warriors as both hunted and agents of change, the film explores the tension between institutional oppression and the power of resistance, a narrative familiar in many cultural movements today. Symbolism extends into the film's use of light and darkness, often contrasting moments of hope and despair. Scenes bathed in warm, natural light accompany revelations and emotional breakthroughs, while shadowed or artificially lit spaces frame moments of danger, deceit, or isolation. This interplay not only shapes the visual storytelling but mirrors the characters' internal journeys, illuminating the ongoing battle between resilience and despair. The careful lighting design subtly reinforces the film's message that even in darkness, flickers of hope persist. The film also touches on the theme of legacy in the context of history's cycles. The immortal characters have witnessed centuries of human triumphs and atrocities, and their weariness reflects a broader commentary on humanity's repeated mistakes. This perspective invites viewers to consider their own roles in shaping the future, urging reflection on collective memory and responsibility. The immortals' struggle to protect the world from destruction parallels real-world efforts to learn from history and build a better tomorrow, making the film's stakes deeply resonant beyond its fantastical premise. Gender dynamics are thoughtfully addressed, with the film featuring strong female leads who embody diverse facets of strength: physical, emotional, intellectual. The portrayal of women as warriors, leaders, and strategists challenges traditional gender roles and contributes to ongoing cultural dialogues about empowerment and representation. Andy's complex leadership style, combining toughness with empathy, offers a refreshing departure from one-dimensional heroes, presenting a layered, relatable figure who grapples with doubt and duty. This nuanced depiction encourages audiences to reconsider assumptions about strength and vulnerability. Moreover, the film subtly engages with themes of trauma and healing. Immortality does not shield the characters from psychological scars. Instead, it amplifies them. Flashbacks and moments of quiet introspection reveal how centuries of loss and violence shape their worldviews and behaviors. These portrayals echo real-world understandings of trauma's long-lasting impact and the importance of support and compassion in healing. The characters' journeys suggest that healing is ongoing and multifaceted, resonating with viewers who see their own struggles reflected in immortal narratives. In its broader cultural context, The Old Guard 2 taps into a zeitgeist fascinated with superheroes and eternal beings, but adds a refreshing layer by focusing on the costs and ethical dilemmas such power entails. It questions simplistic notions of heroism, inviting viewers to wrestle with complex questions about identity, morality, and human connection. This makes the film both entertaining and intellectually stimulating, a rare balance that elevates its impact. Ultimately, the movie's thematic and symbolic richness encourages repeated viewing and deeper reflection. Every fight scene, every intimate conversation, every subtle visual cue contributes to a layered story that resonates on multiple levels. It invites audiences not just to watch but to think and feel, to engage with questions that transcend the screen and connect to their own lives and societies. This is the true magic of The Old Guard 2, an action-packed spectacle grounded in profound humanity, reminding us all of the fragile, beautiful complexity of life, time, and legacy. From the very first frame, The Old Guard 2 establishes a visual and auditory atmosphere that draws the viewer deep into its world, a place where centuries of history collide with raw, immediate danger. The film's cinematography, sound design, and overall visual storytelling work in concert to create a compelling experience that enhances every moment of the narrative, elevating what could have been a straightforward action film into a richly textured cinematic journey. The cinematography, led by a visionary director of photography, sets a tone that is simultaneously gritty and elegant. The choice of lenses and camera movement captures both the intimacy of personal struggles and the expansive scale of epic conflicts. Throughout the movie, there is a careful balance between handheld shots that provide a visceral, almost documentary feel and sweeping, composed shots that highlight the grandeur of settings like ancient Rome or sleek, modern laboratories. This dynamic approach invites the audience to oscillate between the immediacy of a character's perspective and the broader world they inhabit, grounding the supernatural elements in a tangible reality. One striking technique used repeatedly is the subtle use of slow motion, not as a flashy gimmick but as a tool for emotional emphasis. During pivotal fight scenes, the camera slows down at key moments, allowing viewers to absorb the weight of each strike, the fluidity of movement, and the character's physical and emotional stakes. This slows time in a way that mirrors the immortal's experience, where moments stretch with significance, and every action reverberates with centuries of consequence. Importantly, these slow-motion sequences are carefully integrated, so they never interrupt the narrative flow but enhance the storytelling rhythm. Lighting plays a crucial role in defining the film's visual language. The palette shifts subtly throughout the story to reflect tone and character psychology. Natural, warm light often bathes scenes of camaraderie or reflection, emphasizing humanity and connection, while colder, harsher lighting dominates scenes of conflict and isolation. Particularly memorable are the night sequences, where chiaroscuro, the dramatic contrast between light and shadow, accentuates tension and mystery. Shadows fall across characters' faces, visually representing their internal conflicts and the moral ambiguity that permeates their lives. This play of light and darkness becomes a visual metaphor for the ongoing battle between hope and despair, life and death, that lies at the movie's core. Editing in The Old Guard 2 is another vital piece of the cinematic puzzle. The pacing is meticulously calibrated, balancing high-octane action with quieter, character-driven moments. The editors employ quick cuts during fight sequences to convey urgency and chaos, but then shift to longer takes during emotional scenes, allowing the audience to linger in the characters' internal worlds. This rhythm shapes the viewer's emotional journey, making the adrenaline-fueled moments hit harder while giving space for reflection and connection. A particularly effective editing choice is the seamless intercutting of flashbacks with present-day events. These transitions are often marked by subtle visual cues, changes in color grading, focus shifts, or sound bridges, that gently guide the viewer between timelines. This technique not only enriches character development but also deepens the narrative's thematic exploration of memory and legacy, reinforcing how past experiences continuously shape present actions. Sound design in The Old Guard 2 is layered and immersive, playing a critical role in enhancing the storytelling. From the nuanced rustle of clothing and footsteps on varied surfaces to the atmospheric hum of urban environments, every auditory detail is crafted to draw the viewer into the film's world. Fight scenes are underscored by a mix of realistic impact sounds and carefully designed audio effects that emphasize the character's superhuman resilience without sacrificing authenticity. The soundscape also employs silence strategically, using moments of quiet tension to heighten anticipation or underscore emotional vulnerability. The musical score deserves special mention for its integration with the film's visual storytelling. The composer blends orchestral arrangements with contemporary electronic elements, creating a sonic texture that mirrors the film's blend of ancient and modern themes. The music swells during moments of triumph or revelation and recedes during introspective scenes, guiding the audience's emotional response without overpowering the narrative. Themes associated with characters or motifs recur throughout the score, subtly reinforcing story arcs and emotional beats. One of the director's unique stylistic choices lies in the film's use of color grading to convey psychological states and narrative shifts. The palette moves through desaturated tones during moments of conflict or despair, while warmer hues emerge during scenes of solidarity or hope. This fluid color language creates an emotional undercurrent that supports the story without explicit exposition. The transition between these palettes often coincides with character development, visually signaling growth or regression. The framing and composition of shots also reveal a deliberate visual language. Characters are frequently placed in asymmetrical compositions, suggesting imbalance or tension, or framed against architectural elements that underscore their isolation or entrapment. Wide shots emphasize the scale of the worlds the immortals navigate, from sprawling cityscapes to claustrophobic interiors, highlighting the contrast between their eternal lives and the ephemeral nature of their surroundings. Close-ups are used sparingly but powerfully, focusing on micro-expressions and subtle gestures that convey inner turmoil or resolve. Camera movement throughout the film is fluid yet purposeful. Tracking shots follow characters closely during pursuit sequences, immersing the viewer in the chase, while static shots in quieter moments create a contemplative space for reflection. The interplay between dynamic and static camera work mirrors the film's thematic tension between chaos and control, motion and stillness, life and the inescapable pull of time. Visual effects are seamlessly integrated into the cinematography, enhancing the story without distracting from the human element. The depiction of the immortals' healing abilities is achieved through a blend of practical effects and subtle CGI, which together maintain a tactile quality. This careful balance ensures that supernatural elements feel believable and emotionally grounded rather than overtly fantastical. The effects team's craftsmanship supports the narrative's focus on character and theme, rather than spectacle alone. Another notable cinematic technique is the film's use of reflections and mirrors, which appear repeatedly in key scenes. These visual motifs serve as metaphors for self-examination and duality, echoing the characters' struggles with identity and the masks they wear to navigate the world. Moments where a character confronts their reflection often coincide with turning points in their arc, underscoring internal conflicts and the search for authenticity. The film's visual storytelling also cleverly incorporates cultural and historical references through mise-en-scene, the careful arrangement of objects and settings within a frame. Artifacts, architecture, and costumes subtly nod to the characters' long histories and diverse backgrounds, enriching the narrative texture. For example, ancient weapons or heirlooms appear in scenes not just as props, but as tangible links to the past, reminding viewers of the layers of time and experience the immortals carry with them. Throughout the film, the director's vision shines in how all these elements, cinematography, lighting, editing, sound, and visual effects, interlock to create a cohesive, immersive experience. The attention to detail in every frame invites repeat viewing, as subtle cues and textures reveal themselves more fully with each watch. This layered approach turns the movie into a living artwork, where the form itself becomes a part of the story being told. Ultimately, The Old Guard 2's cinematic techniques and visual language are not just tools of craft but integral to its emotional and thematic impact. They shape how audiences perceive and feel the narrative, turning a tale of immortal warriors into a deeply human story about time, identity, and resilience. The film's visual and auditory design work hand in hand to immerse viewers fully, making the experience unforgettable long after the screen fades to black. One of the most compelling aspects of The Old Guard 2 lies not just in its thrilling plot or stunning visuals, but in the palpable chemistry between its cast members. The actors' deep connections translate on screen into a dynamic energy that elevates every scene they share, making their immortal characters feel lived in, authentic, and emotionally resonant. This chemistry is the backbone of the film, transforming it from a simple action sequel into a story about trust, loyalty, and the complex bonds that endure beyond time itself. At the center of this dynamic is Charlize Theron, whose return as Andy carries the film with a potent combination of strength and vulnerability. Theron's portrayal is nuanced. She embodies a leader who has carried the weight of centuries, balancing hardened resolve with moments of profound tenderness. What makes her performance stand out is how she interacts with her fellow actors, creating a believable sense of history and shared experience. The chemistry between Theron and KiKi Layne, who plays Niall, is particularly striking. Their relationship feels earned, reflecting not just a mentor-mentee dynamic but something far deeper, an evolving partnership forged through battle and mutual respect. Their on-screen connection invites the audience to invest emotionally in Niall's journey, making her transformation more impactful. Behind the scenes, this chemistry was nurtured by a collaborative and open atmosphere on set. Interviews with the cast reveal that Theron and Layne spent considerable time working together off-camera, engaging in physical training sessions that helped build trust and camaraderie. These sessions weren't just about choreography. They became moments of bonding that translated into their performances. Layne has spoken about how Theron's experience and warmth helped her navigate the pressures of leading such a high-profile sequel, fostering an environment where vulnerability was safe and encouraged. Equally vital to the ensemble is Matthias Schoenaerts, who returns as Joe, bringing a quiet, grounded presence that balances the more intense energies of his co-stars. Schoenaerts' chemistry with Marwan Kenzari, portraying Nikki, adds layers of depth and warmth. Their relationship is marked by a tender intimacy rarely seen in action films, showcasing moments of brotherhood and love that feel deeply genuine. The actors' off-screen friendship and mutual respect shine through, enriching their characters' bond. Anecdotes from the set describe moments of levity amid intense shooting schedules, playful pranks, shared meals, and conversations that reflected the strong sense of family among the cast. On the topic of pranks and playful moments, the set of The Old Guard 2 was known for its lively and supportive atmosphere despite the demanding nature of the production. Cast and crew members have shared stories about Theron's leadership style, which blends professionalism with humor. One memorable instance involved Theron encouraging the cast to loosen up during a grueling fight scene rehearsal by breaking into improvised dance moves, which lightened the mood and boosted morale. Such moments highlight the human side of filmmaking, reminding audiences that behind the epic battles and immortal stakes are real people forging genuine connections. Director Gina Prince-Bythewood also played a pivotal role in shaping the cast's chemistry. Known for her inclusive and actor-focused approach, she fostered an environment where the actors could explore their characters' emotional landscapes fully. She encouraged improvisation during rehearsals, which allowed spontaneous moments of authenticity to find their way into the film. Several scenes showing vulnerability or humor emerged organically from this creative freedom, giving the film an emotional texture that resonates deeply. The impact of these off-screen dynamics is evident in how audiences received the movie. Upon release, The Old Guard 2 was praised not only for its action sequences but also for the heartfelt performances that grounded the narrative. Fans and critics alike noted the palpable camaraderie and chemistry among the leads as a standout feature that set the film apart in a crowded genre. Social media buzz frequently highlighted favorite character interactions, with viewers expressing appreciation for the authentic emotional beats amidst the spectacle. Over time, the audience's connection to the cast's chemistry has only deepened. Fan communities celebrate not just the film's thrilling moments but the relationships that make the characters feel real and relatable. This ongoing engagement has helped the film maintain cultural relevance, fueling discussions, fan art, and even charitable initiatives inspired by the themes of loyalty and resilience embodied by the cast. Behind the scenes, the cast's camaraderie extended into advocacy and collaborative projects beyond the film. Theron, Layne, and Prince Bythewood have publicly supported causes related to diversity and empowerment, aligning the film's progressive ethos with real-world impact. Their united front reinforces the authenticity of the on-screen relationships and adds an inspiring layer to the film's legacy. The audience's reactions also reveal a deep appreciation for the film's handling of representation and inclusivity, made possible by the chemistry and commitment of the cast and crew. Viewers have praised the diverse cast for breaking stereotypes and offering multifaceted portrayals of strength and vulnerability, particularly for women and people of color. This reception underscores how the actors' chemistry and off-screen collaboration contributed to a film that feels both entertaining and socially significant. In sum, the magic of The Old Guard 2 owes much to the genuine connections forged among its actors, the supportive and creative environment cultivated on set, and the enthusiastic response from audiences worldwide. These elements intertwine to create not just a movie but a shared experience, one that celebrates the power of collaboration, trust, and enduring bonds. Through this lens, the film becomes a testament to how the human element behind the camera shapes and enriches the stories that captivate us on screen.